back to NAACP Roundtable. We call ourselves the Roundtable. We don't have a table to sit at. Yeah, that's kind of ironic. But anyway, tonight we have Mr. Richard Smith, here with us today, and we're going to be talking to Eugene Young, currently running for mayor of the city of Wilmington. We're going to ask him some very interesting questions, get his view on, his vision of the city and the things that he wants to do for Wilmington. Not only Wilmington, but when you're the mayor, you have some say what goes on in the state. Mr. Smith, you got any comments for us?
Yeah, first of all, let me say condolences to the Benson family, which is the young man was, my nephew is a relation to the Benson family. Mark was one of the Benson, was his father, and that was his cousin and stuff. Right. I think this is like the third person in my family around relatives that got shot. The Heyman, the Wilmore young man over on Washington Street was my cousin. And I just send the condolences. I'm trying to get them together to come on the TV show. But what we're doing right now is basically saying that we have a series of mayors come in so far. Eugene, Mr. Young will make the third. We got 4 more to go, I think, right?
Yeah, to come in.
4, 12, whatever.
you may have 20 more
but,
by the time this is over.
What we're going to do is give them the platform to talk and to present their views. And we want to be fair, so we ain't here to take no cheap shots and nothing like that. We're here to say, hey, let's educate the people. Let's put the truth out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Young.
Absolutely.
What's going on?
I am excited to be here. It's a great moment. I really want to take just time out to really highlight you two gentlemen for the work that you do within the community. It's funny, we met in Rodney Square. Rodney Square, absolutely, talking about community issues. I remember there was dialogue about what can we do around some of even the issues that our community is facing right now.
Yes.
And I would be remiss if I didn't even start out with saying this. It's interesting how Mouse and I met. And it was, and I have to give a lot of credit to him. I'm going to give this story. It's a short one, but I got to give it. About 6 years ago?
6, 7 years.
It was about 6, 7 years ago. I was trying to get into politics, right?
Okay.
I'm running this nonprofit organization with my 2 close friends, dealing with the kids, trying to get into politics, trying to work for an elected official, any elected official at the time, knocking on doors, not getting any response back. And I got frustrated, and I said, you know what, I'm going to spend my time, and I'm just going to really focus in on this nonprofit organization.
Right.
We ended up doing a lot of great work. We've done a lot of great work, but at the time I was working with a young man, going to his parent-teacher conferences, all these different things, and it happened to be Mouse's great nephew. And he and I met, and it was a game changer for me. I met Mouse, and Mouse said to me, well, what do you want to do? And he said, you're doing something right here. You're working with these kids, but what do you really want to do? And I said, I would like to get in government at some point in time, but it has not been any opportunities for me. Right. That could be a larger segment within itself. But he said to me, this is no lie, this happened at P.S. DuPont School. He said, I want you to meet me here at Presto next week at 10 a.m. And I had no idea who I was meeting. I had no idea who was going to be there. He said, just show up. I show up to this meeting. I'm not going to say their names, but it was myself, Mouse, and 2 other gentlemen. One of them was running statewide, and I'll never forget. The gentleman who was running for office said, who is this guy? Right. And he said, get him out of here. This is what the guy said to me. And Mouse said, you sit right down. He said a couple other words with that. He sit right down. You're not going anywhere. Right. And he's staying. And it was that relationship, some of the relationships I made at that table, which kind of doubled and tripled on, but it was how I ended up getting a shot working for this state representative, Helene Keeley, and the House representatives as an aide for 2 state reps. It kind of was the beginning of my career, just getting involved in government. Right. So I am greatly appreciative of the work that work that you both do, but I'm also thankful just for the opportunity, because many times people don't realize that, I'm the end product of so many people and so many people being of service, and that's why I'm here today. So.
And let me say this. The people we met with, there was one group of people, and they were power makers and stuff. Yeah. And I did cuss at them. I did.
Yeah, you did.
Wow,
put
that's
them
not
in a
surprising.
place. I
left that out, right? I did leave that out.
I did tell them that they won't get a black vote.
Right.
I did tell them that they don't push us around. I said, this is our young future, and you ain't gonna be messing with our young future. And then they went to Helene. They got their heads together. Helene came to me and said, what do you think about him? I said, if you're gonna deal with him, but don't use him.
Right.
Don't abuse him, and send him back to us the way it's supposed to be. And that's exactly what she did.
Yes.
That's right. You participated in some of the debates. The one thing that I found interesting is you have great ideals. You know what I mean? Wonderful ideals. You can explain a couple of them.
Sure. So for me, this comes about how do we transform our city? I look at not of what we are, but what we can become.
Right.
We have a beautiful city, but we have points that we need to work on. Whether, as you already well know, whether it's public safety, whether it's constituent engagement, just the interaction between the community and also the city itself, right? How do we make sure that if you call, you get that call back? Right. Whether it's education. For too long, when it comes to education and the need for criminal justice reform, we've had this hands-off mentality, essentially saying, that's a state issue. We don't, it's a state issue, we don't worry about that. But I believe that we have now gotten to a point where everything is on the table. All these different issues affect our city. Our kids aren't educated, it tends to lead into a life of crime. If we're not working around public safety and criminal justice reform, making sure that men and women, we were just talking about this before we came in, men and women who are able to come home, are able to get pardons or expungements, then we're fighting a losing battle, because we're not going to be able to transform anything within our city. So I look at this as a collective, from a collective standpoint of how we can look at all these different areas and bring them together in order to find ways to provide solutions for the people within our city on a day in, day out basis. We have so many issues that we need to tackle in many of these different areas, West Center City, areas over Northeast. We have some tough issues, but it's going to take us coming together, having leadership, and really moving the city in a different direction.
Right, the one thing, like I often talk about at meetings or just in general, that Mouse has done a lot of great work. Everybody knows his. I've done some things. Mouse is, he's older than me, but I always tell people that it's not our turn anymore. Our job is to educate, to mentor, to give some guidance. It's like people like you that's coming up. We have to give it to you, because I always tell people it's y'all problem. The issues that we're dealing with, we dealt with our own issues growing up. These issues are your issues,
and we've got to work on them together, though.
Right.
We've got because it's for often and to move our city forward. This is going to take an all hands on deck, and we cannot. For too long, I believe in the city, we've been divided. Right. We've been divided by, in some cases, age, as you alluded to. We've been divided racially. We've
economic,
been economic, socioeconomic, geographic, perspective. All these different ways that we've divided ourselves. Education level as well, right? So we have, and this is what I continue to tell people, we have a city of 70,000, 75,000 people. If we were in Philadelphia, we'd be a neighborhood,
Yeah,
let me say this. When I started back in the '60s with Herman Holloway Sr., who came up to me and gave me my first let me make $5, going out giving door knockers. I had a guy named Midnight Brownie. Then I came with Joe Biden when he came up to me in '68 and started wanting to run '72 and all that. But what we had, the greatest group I ever had was a group called Tupac. It was Komoko. It was a bunch of us who got together. We got an old army tent. And we got with Reverend Herron. And Reverend Herron supported us. And we said, we're going to make a change in politics. And we challenged everybody who was older and stuff. And at the end, we got the respect. Then we went to take over the Democrat Party. And we did a good job with the Democrat Party. Then we went after the Republican Party. And we had, as Bernie said, a revolution going, okay? Now, if you get up to the day, I've been this, I've been that, Komoko been this, Berea. Berea is now city council running for mayor. She was in the group. There was so many people in our group that's now in leadership. Then as I went to Young Democrat. Well, the Young Democrat was Mac Dunn, Jack McHale, all them. We were fighting them because there wasn't no black people in the Young Democrat. And we was trying to force the door. Now you shoot up to now, Eugene, you can't go no place, you can't do this, you can't run away if you lose. Ain't no you should go on and put your hands head in the sand, come on and fight, because it may take a while before you get where you're going, but guess what? It's a revolution. And I ain't saying you're going to win or lose. I'm saying that this fight is for the right to speak for black people, white people, all people. And what Reverend Herron and us believe in, always, you hear me talk about the Rainbow Coalition. This is a rainbow that fell apart, and we got to put it back together.
Like you said, this city is not that big, and I've been all over this planet, you know. We're, believe it or not, we're a small section in other places.
Absolutely.
You know, and we just can't get it together. The question I have for you, what would you say to the people who talk about, you know, you don't have any experience on city council, you're still young, you need to do some other stuff. What is your response to that?
That is a great question. I would say two things. One is I don't think age indicates impact.
Right.
Age is not any indicator of one's impact. But if you want to bring up this idea, I'm going to give you the precedent that has happened in our state, and then I'm also going to tell you about myself. So let's look at the precedent that we've had in our state. We've had a 29-year-old man decide to run for state treasurer, and he won. And he became the state treasurer, and he is now United States Senator Tom Carper.
Right.
You know, we had a 29-year-old man decide I wanted to run for United States Senate.
Right.
And he ran and he won, and now his name is Vice President Joe Biden.
Right.
We also had a 29-year-old gentleman who said, I want to run for mayor of Wilmington. And
his name Dennis Williams.
He's 29, and he ran for Tom Maloney.
Let me give you a little. Dennis came up to me with the AOs. I've been knowing Dennis since a kid. And one thing Dennis told me, we was out there every night. What's going on now? It was Market Street at the time. It was South Ridge. It was Rosegate, and it was East Side. And we was all over the place all night long, meeting with Darren Furley, 4 o'clock in the morning and stuff. And Dennis came to me and said, I'm going to leave the police department, and I'm going to work. I'm going to get with Joe White, and then I'm going to become mayor. And this was back in 72 or whatever, but it might be 74, 78, and he basically said that. And he said, watch me. And he was young. I said, Dennis, you young, you're crazy and stuff like that. He said, watch me. Look at him.
It's about one's ability to just believe, but also understanding, having a vision as to what they believe the city is going to be. So even with going to that, when you talk about my experience, I've worked. Let's go back. I ran a nonprofit organization that deals with some of the issues that we're dealing with right now.
Right.
Youth violence. Issues, intervention. I've done that in schools, understanding the needs that young people have and families have, dealing with families in poverty.
Right.
I've worked at the state level, understanding some of the needs of our communities and how we're able to be of access and resource to them. I've worked in a mayor's office. I've worked for Cory Booker, a successful mayor at that. So I have the vantage point of actually seeing the intricacies of that. And I've also worked in the United States Senate, actually working to provide municipalities and local cities with the resources from the federal government.
And you work in the lines then too.
And I work in the Lions Den, yes I did.
Dover.
And I worked in the and now I work in the Lions Den in Dover, fighting on the
But before that,
toughest.
when you were
Before
down
that, when
there,
I was
it
down
was-
with Representative Bolin and Representative Keeley, working down there, and now I go down to Dover day in, day out, fighting on the toughest issue I believe in our state right now, which is criminal justice reform.
Right.
I go down there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when they're in session, and meet with people from the governor's office, AG's office, different state reps and state senators, trying to push the needle towards criminal justice reform. It impacts our day in, day out lives in many of our communities. So these are the issues, these are the things that I do constantly, and all these things together give me a breadth of experience and understanding that is able to help our city move forward. But if I can interject one more last thing, I don't sit here in front of you claiming that I didn't have all the answers. You know,
Right.
I believe, as the wise person once said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? So it's also about team. It's also, and that's what I'm most proud of with our campaign. We have 150 volunteers. We have people that have come together, put together public safety plans, economic development plans. We have a great team. It is not me by myself. I understand that this is something that has to be worked together with city, county, state, federal delegation, the whole nine. So it's a process, and all of us coming together to move the city forward.
Well, one thing, I was mad when he decided to run, because I said, he ain't ready yet. You know, he ain't ready.
Yeah.
I want him to work a little more. So him and I met out the Hollywood Grill,
Yes, we did.
and I tore him apart out there. You know what I mean?
Yes, you did.
And then I know his mom very well. We grew up together on the east side and stuff. And I said, have you talked to him? She said, I tried, but he got his mind made up. And he's gone. And he said, I hope that they don't be too rough on him. So what I did was pull back and say, when I was his age, they couldn't stop me.
Right.
Who am I
That's right.
to sit up and call him in a meeting and stop him from reaching his dream and stuff? I'll be a dream killer. So, you know, my whole concept was to say, let them run, because my problem is I know every one of the ones that are running.
Yeah.
I've been knowing for years. So it ain't like I can turn around and say, I'm going to endorse this one, endorse that one, endorse that
Right.
one. Because whoever I endorse, whoever I be with, they're going to get mad with me, okay? And they're going to attack, or they ain't going to speak to me. So with me myself being in politics this long, my concept with you, Ron, was let's bring him on the show.
Yeah.
And let everybody have their say, and then let the people decide who they want.
Yeah. You know, one of the biggest issues you were talking about, public safety. What are your personal views? You know, I can't attack anybody's administration, but
Sure.
what's your personal views?
So when it comes to public safety, it comes in different pillars, right? It first deals with our police department, making sure we have a more transparent, more accountable police department, but also making sure that we have better deployment. Our police officers have the best technology. All these different things add layers into having a better police department specifically, and then also from the standpoint of community policing. Making sure that and there's no bigger time than right now, we have to bridge these gaps between the police and the community. It is imperative.
It's
But can we bridge the gap with this new law that came out Thursday, that the General Assembly gave the police more leeway? If they feel threatened, they can do what they want to do.
So that was, it was funny, we spoke a little bit about it earlier, the use of force. I think that's, especially with everything going around with the Jeremy McDowell case, I think it's very important for us to touch in on this. We have major issues around our use of force policy and the systems involved with it. We have to address this issue, because if not, what happens is this continues to go on and on and on.
Right.
So we have to address the use of force issue, you know, and as we all have read, the AG office's the
report,
the
right.
report
I'm
that
glad
was
you
sent
brought
out.
it up.
Yeah, I mean, but this is a part of it, right? We have to address use of force. We have to address some of the issues around the culture just of the police department. Anytime the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Delaware says specifically there's someone that should not be carrying a gun
Right.
in the police department, that's a serious.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to cut across you because the FOP made a statement
Yeah.
that they condone and they condemn him. He should not be there, and then he stuck between the McDowell family saying he should not be there. Okay, and this guy only told what he felt. And you know what? Like I told the McDowell family, listen for a minute. This guy put his whole career on the line
Right.
to make those statements.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we should at least pay attention. And with the federal government, we ask for the federal government, let the federal government come in, because sometimes they can clean house.
They don't come in.
I agree. Like, we can, you know, there's even past precedents when it comes to this, whether it's even in particular in Philadelphia, right? 2013, the actual Commissioner Ramsey at the time, I believe, asked for the Attorney General and Department of Justice, the United States Attorney General, to come in. And they actually provided, I think it was like 91 recommendations around the city of Philadelphia's police department, in particular on their use of force. And so they gave a variety of recommendations on how they can make their police department better around this specific issue. And there's reports that show that there was a decrease in the amount of times that officers use force in their interactions with people, but also it creates an environment where the people of the city feel as though the police department is being held accountable, and that it's transparent. Like, I'll give you an example right now. If you go to the Philadelphia Police Department's website, you can easily find their use of force policy.
Right.
You know, that's something that we should also be doing, just so that people feel as though we're being held as city government, we're being held accountable, and that they actually know what their rights are.
Yeah, it's funny that you just brought that up, because I've been doing research on the federal level of use of force.
Absolutely.
And when you look at the McDowell case, the things that they have in place weren't used in that particular that instance. So, I believe that nobody locally, just me talking, locally, want to set the precedence of charging a police officer.
Well, and this is why some lawyers that I have, Steve Norman, different lawyers, they don't mind me using their name.
Right.
We started a Wilmington class action suit. We have something like 29 folks on that suit, and we took a piece to the district court, and the magistrate court looked at that and found that what the Wilmington police is doing, their training is wrong, their tactics wrong, they profile, they doing everything. So the magistrate court, I got the paperwork in the car. The magistrate court signed off on it, and now it's got to get a Third Circuit Court to approve it. It's up in the Third Circuit Court, and what the city did, I think they spent $300 or $500 or $600 or $700 an hour to fight this. Okay, and the only thing we asked for is the FOP change your policy, change the way you do things, and become community police. Now, one more thing. I think is that my lawyer and I always talk about is that a lot of these policemen are coming from Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff, and when they come in with this equipment that Obama was a little piece of this too. When he sold the equipment, all this military equipment and masks and stuff like that, and these guys are coming back from the service, and they haven't had real training, they haven't had real mental ill program put in place. They got the old one. I think that we have tactics of a military instead of community police.
I understand.
And I think if this case is won, you're going to see a whole different. It's gonna be just like Ransdale, Philadelphia, and everything. Probably be some of theirs, some of Ferguson's, some of Baltimore, and different places are gonna come here and gonna change the way that the police department and the mayor and stuff deal with the community.
Yeah, because it's all about training. You know, if there's a certain mindset, I mean, I know from working with the youth, if there's a certain mindset in place, you can't just wake up one day and say, you can't think like that, and they all change. That's just human nature. So you got to put stuff in place where you can gradually get people to start changing their mind, keep changing their views, and then eventually that old stuff goes away.
We have to create a culture and a climate within our police department, and let's be also be honest and open as well. There's some amazing officers.
Yes.
There are some amazing
80%
officers.
of them good.
Yeah,
80 to 90% of them good, but
great.
it's that lower block, just like the black community. 80%, 90% of the black community is real good, but you got that little 10% that make everybody else look bad.
So, because that's what everybody focus on.
Yeah.
No one has a monopoly on being right, and no one has a monopoly on being wrong.
3 minutes.
So I believe that it's really imperative that we have better training. We make sure that we have more community policing. We have, I mean, it was interesting, even in some of the reports from Philadelphia, one of the things that they were speaking about is just small things that I didn't think about. Holding a perimeter until a crisis intervention team gets there, you know? Like, these are some of the recommendations that were, you know,
that would help in the
and so
Jeremy goal, yeah.
But there's a wide variety. So I think we need to also, when it comes to resources, we need to work and use as many resources as possible, because if we're going to move this city forward, it's not going to be just within this city. We need to work with our state, county, federal delegation, and the feds.
I'm gonna say this before we close down. We got to bring you back.
Absolutely.
Because we don't have the hour because of this season, and I want to bring you back on the second Sunday in the month at 1 o'clock. Okay, and we want to talk about housing. Okay. How to get the community, how to give the power back to the community. Absolutely. Education, and mental health. And
absolutely.
Right.
you want to talk about some youth stuff, more youth stuff.
Yeah.
That's near and dear to my heart. I look forward to it. I really look forward to it. Before, I know time is running short, but I just want to say again, I'm thankful to be here. Before you both, I'm thankful for this opportunity. For me, this all comes down to service and being of greater service to community, and taking that idea and that aspect into city government. So I'm thankful. We have to unite to really move this city forward.
Well, I guess that leaves me. I want everybody to understand that this young man here, you know, he believes in this city. He believes that we can help. We all have to get out there. One thing that I see that's going on now is people have lost faith in the right thing. Everybody's now looking at, hasn't been working, things aren't working, so why should I change? You have to change. Just remember, if Martin Luther King had that ideal, nothing's going to change, we still be dealing with some other issues. You know, if Malcolm X had that.
Which we are with Donald Trump.
So, you know, Malcolm X, all the great leaders, they believed in change. They were not afraid. Since we only have a few seconds, I want everybody to know that, you know, I studied a lot of Marcus Garvey, and one thing that I really love that he said is, I am we. You know, when you start looking at the community as you're a part of the community and you're a part of the solution, so we got to always remember, when we get the community do better, then I'm going to do better, and when I do better, the community do better. See you back in the second Sunday, 1 p.m. We out. Peace.